Members, good morning. It's time to start and we've got a quorum already, so may I now call the meeting to order. Can we invite the officials and the deputations in, please? Just to remind members that there will be 4 sessions today. And of course, the lunch break is the most important. The table before members is a menu, so please fill in the form and give the form to our steward. So the first session, 10 to 11:30, there will be a 10-minute break, and then 11:40 to 1:10. Then there will be a lunch break, and we will come back at 2:15, and then that session will end at 4:10. There will be a 10-minute break, and we will then go on till 6 o'clock. I don't think the agenda is really too heavy, and I hope the members will try their best to sit through the entire meeting. And of course, the officials can also enjoy the breaks and the lunch break. We were with the officials in South Korea for about a week, and so I believe you know them well. But then let's have the deputations in first. And towards the end of each session, there will be a cushion of about 10 minutes. If everything goes smoothly, there should be about 10 to 15 minutes for members to ask questions of the administration or of the deputations, and the administration can also make use of that slot to give a reply. But then if many deputations overrun in that session, if things do not really proceed too smoothly, then we'll not be able to have that Q&A session. Okay.
局長樓下有個紙板人啊，好威武。我哋留紙板人，好勇武。而家興講勇武，唔係講威武。坐齊晒係幾多啊？組應該係入得咁慢㗎，21個。遲晒樓下熱遠啊！27啊，今朝如果嚟出席晒27、24、27。呢度。因為要等齊晒。
Because we need to have all the deputations seated first, and we have to explain to them the proceedings, and that's why we can't start yet.
哇！入得咁慢都唔妥喎。27乘3係幾耐？84，我哋呢個會11點半完。27乘3係81。你哋唔係好多時間嘅啫喎。 我哋慢令佢哋。嗱，各位同事，我
members, I don't understand why it takes so long for all the deputations to be seated. I think we'd better start because the session will end by 11:30 and we have 27 deputations for this session. So if members have no objection, I think I'll start first. Thank you for finding time to attend our meeting to express your views on waste management and the expansion of or the extension of landfills. So we'll start from Mr. Lee in the first row, and I have to apologize because while you speak, the deputations will still be coming in and getting seated. And let me introduce the officials to you. They are Mr. Wong Kim Sing, Secretary for the Environment, Ms. Michelle R, Political Assistant to the Secretary, Mr. Albert Lam, Deputy Director of Environmental Protection, and Dr. Alan Chan, Assistant Director, Environmental Infrastructure, EPD, and Mr. Lawrence Lau, Principal Environmental Protection Officer, Waste Facilities. And you can see the microphone before you, and there is the earpiece. The earpiece is for you to listen to simultaneous interpretation, but I don't think deputations in the session need interpretation service. And for the mic, please clip it to your lapel. And may I remind you that what you say today will not be covered by the Electrical Powers and Privileges Ordinance. Each deputation will only be given 3 minutes. Sorry, we can't give each deputation more time because we have a total of 120 deputations coming today. And so please be concise when you speak. And there will be a timer to tell you when time's up. So first of all, we have Mr. Billy Lee, CEO, Global Eco Resource Limited. Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Secretary. Members, good morning. I'm really glad to be the first deputation to address the panel. Our landfill resources are limited. And so I think for large items of municipal solid waste, they should be broken down by mechanical means before they are sent to the landfills for disposal. That would help to save the capacity of our landfills. For example, wooden boards, and if we can break these down to smaller pieces by mechanical means before they are sent to the landfills, then that would help to save landfill space. And also, we will have a smaller chance of small insects breeding underground. So I just hope that we can all be rational in what we propose, and I hope that we can all have propose effective suggestions for the administration. Mr. Lok. Yes, thank you, Chairman. I want to talk about the past, the present, and the future. In the past, the administration didn't work out sound policies with regard to waste recovery or municipal solid waste recovery and recycling or disposal. And as a result, we need to keep on extending our landfills. There was a lack of coordination. There was a lack of sound planning. For example, when the Environment Bureau wants to extend the landfills, it doesn't inform the Town Planning Board beforehand. And the Town Planning Board, in fact, should have barred the development of industrial estates and residential developments near landfills or landfill extensions. At present, we can see residential developments in close proximity to landfills, and as a result, people feel a lot of nuisance caused by the landfills. So I think there is a need for better planning and coordination, and there should be independent consultancy firms hired to look at the disposal of MSW, and the Director of Audit should investigate or carry out an audit study into the disposal of MSW to see whether there has been administrative negligence. And then let me talk about the present. Cheung Kwan O residents are now subject to a lot of nuisance. For example, the odor in the air, and also PM 2.5 emitted by the RCVs, and also emissions from construction wastes. And I think their health is at risk. I don't think the administration is doing proper planning at the moment. Now, if you don't understand how big the odor is, then ask your neighbor to put his domestic waste right in front of your door for 20 days, and you will understand how bad the odor problem is. And what about the future? We need to be rational. We need to proceed rationally. I think it's a three-pronged approach: public education and civic education. And we have to educate the industry. And then incinerators have to be constructed as soon as possible. We can't afford to wait for 8 more years. And before we have the incinerators, our government should look at the possibility of exporting waste to incinerators in nearby areas or countries. And I hope that electrical members will point out the mistakes of the administration, and you must make sure that the government does its work. Now, Mr. Look, I have to impose the time limit very strictly, because if you overrun for 20 seconds, other deputations will also overrun by 20 seconds. Ms. Fong, is it a point of order? Chairman, Ms. Fong, I want to... Ms. Fong, I want to tell you and others that only members can raise a point of order. That's in the rules of procedure. And we have we have fewer than 10 members, 10 electrical members here listening to our views. Ms. Fong, residents, the rules of procedure doesn't stipulate the minimum number of officials attending a meeting. And the rules of procedure state very clearly that it's only for members to raise a point of order. And then as to how many electrical members are present today, you do the head count, you look at whether NT-East members are present, and please observe order in this conference room. And when you speak, or when it's not your turn to speak yet, please be seated. I want to say that this session will come to an end by 11:30 a.m. And so if things do not progress smoothly, I may have to cut your speaking time. So you'll see how you can make those members who are not present today accountable to you. But as the chairman, I have the duty to make sure that the meeting progresses smoothly. And if you think that as so few members are present, it's no use giving your views here, it's your judgment, it's your choice. And please observe the rules of the meeting. Residents, now I believe you've watched live broadcast of electrical meetings, and you know very well that you must not speak from your seats without the approval of the chairman. Otherwise, the proceedings of the meeting cannot progress smoothly, and as a result, the speaking time of each deputation will be reduced. And if you do not observe order in the conference room, I may even ask you to leave the conference room. Mr. Lee Teck-lun.
Thank you, Chairman, all attending members. I live in Lohas Park in Tseung Kwan O. A lot of people may say, if you're living in Lohas Park, you know about the odor issue, so you shouldn't be regretting right now. Before I purchased the apartment, I made a visit myself, and I saw the situation of town planning. I thought it was a suitable place for living. It was 2004 at that time. The government promised to close the landfill by 2012, and after I moved in, we got bad news, and it was that the landfill was not saturated yet, and it's like a soccer game. If we have extra time, a few minutes of extra time, well, it's acceptable for us. But now it's virtually a rematch. This situation is unacceptable for residents, and how can we trust the government? And it's no coincidence that the trust levels for the government are going down all the time. The government talked about using 13 hectares of land for landfill extension. I think the government never has the intention to close down the Tseung Kwan O landfill completely. And about the incinerators, it's another scam. If you want to construct an incinerator, you have to do a lot of consultation, preparation, planning, and it takes at least 7 to 8 years. And now we are not even making a first step. How can we replace landfills with incinerators? It doesn't make sense. If the government has no answer, my suggestion is we shouldn't have residential blocks in this area at the first place. The only solution now is to repurchase all the residents, including Lohas Park. If the government fails to do this, I hope the Secretary provide a timetable to close the Tseung Kwan O landfill as soon as possible. Mr. Chang Mei-hung, thank you all the members, attending residents. On the Tseung Kwan O landfill extension, I have raised a lot of reasons against it before. I've written a lot of letters to the Environment Bureau, EPD, regarding EIA, air quality, traffic noise. I have submitted a lot of letters to the Environment Bureau. Either I received no response or virtually no reply. I continue to write letters, but yet the EB never respond to my questions, my queries. I have rewritten lyrics to a song. I changed the lyrics, and I wonder why the Secretary never replies. Every day I write letters to pledge the government to save Tseung Kwan O, and Secretary Mr. Wong never replied. Can you spare a few minutes to read our pledges? We write letters every day and every night, and we call the complaint hotline every day. And for weeks, we took action against the extension of the Tseung Kwan O landfill. So why do we have to make the effort to do all these? We have our lives too. In 2012, the LegCo opposed the extension of the landfill by using a country park area. A few days ago, on 27th of April, the Tranquano landfill extension was opposed again by LegCo, and this means LegCo is aware of the residents' voices, and they know it's injustice. So, Secretary, do you really not understand our pledge? We hope we pledge Mr. Wong not to go against public views yet again, and we urge you to take back the proposal to extend the Tranquano landfill. And I hope you can consider our voices. Thank you. In 2005, I raised the issue of odor in Tranquano, and 8 years on, we complain all the time, and people say I'm an expert for the odor issue. In 2005, Sarah Liao talked about mitigation measures, and then it's Edward Yao. They talked about a lot of measures, but it's still things are still the same, and there has not been any improvement. If such measures were effective, why did we receive more and more complaints? And the complaint cases were going up all the time. And all the measures were failures. And now you are talking about further extending the landfills, and you're just ignoring the public's health. If you want to improve the odor issue, it's unreasonable to continue with the landfill extensions. And in 2009, the district council commissioned an independent research with PolyU, and the report is long overdue, and now it's 2013. And the interim report showed that the odor indeed comes from the landfill. And why is the report not disclosed yet? Is the government trying to hide some facts away from us? If the report is overdue for 2 years, so why isn't anybody held accountable? Any solution has its price. I think the government should prioritize the residents' interests. Right now, the landfill is already so close to the residents. I think no urban planner or architect would carry out a plan like this. I hope the government would correct their wrongs and do something reasonable. As some residents say, it's time for the landfills to retire. If there's no nuisance caused to the residents, we would have no complaints. And the government is taking in so much revenue, and it's not being invested back into the residents. Thank you, Chairman. In the last 3 years, I've been to such meetings for so many times, and it's the first time I come to LegCo. I think the government should have records, but the relevant authorities are not doing their jobs. So why are they taking so long to understand public sentiments? I think it's filibustering in another way. They are repeating their old solutions and they're raising such suggestions to LegCo, and this is not acceptable to the residents. When you talk about responsibility, civil responsibility, Cheung Kwan O has been suffering for 20 years. If you have to, if I lock you up in the toilet for 20 years, and I'm not sure if the secretary thinks that this is fine, I think it's time to stop. Looking at the conditions of Cheung Kwan O, it's a very inappropriate spot for landfill. It's so close to the residents, and we are having more and more buildings in the industrial zone. Anybody with common sense knows it doesn't work. For example, if you look at Causeway Bay, the air quality would only get worse. If you are insisting on the extension of landfill, I don't know what will happen to Cheung Kwan O. Ms. Yim Ka-yi. Thank you, Chairman and different officials. Thank you very much. Anyone requires simultaneous interpreting service? We have not provided interpreting service for Putonghua. So shall we continue? Thank you. Thanks for giving us the chance to express our views on the projects. I want to share my personal experience. I live in Lohas Park. I know what a landfill is. But now I realize it's a landfill for trash. My good friends in China, they ask me where I live, and I tell them I live near a garbage site. So Lohas Park is supposed to represent good health and a good environment, and it's so close to the landfill. I thought I would be living in a very beautiful place, but the fact is the air quality is very bad, and I suffer from flu all the time since I moved in. I have a colleague living in Tiu King Leng, and she suffers the same fate. I thought it's my own problem. It's something wrong with my own health. If a healthy person catches a flu all the time, there is a reason, and the reason is air quality. I hope. When you first enter the political scene, you must have I think you all must have had a personal wish, and you want justice, and I think you still have it in yourselves. I think that a landfill has its historical significance, but now we have more and more residents in Cheung Kwan O. Is it still necessary to extend the landfills? If you think about yourselves, voters, if you think about people who have contributed to Hong Kong's prosperity, and people who continue to contribute to Hong Kong, when you think about these people, would you think about their welfare? I've not been living here for very long, but I really like these people, and I've get along with them very well. Miss Look, I'm also a resident of Lohas Park. I moved in 2011, and I bought the flat in 2008. And at that time, they say the landfill will be closed in 2013. My tenants told me that the site really stinks. In 2011, I had to clean my car every day, but every day when I came back, I had to wash it again. there are a lot of trash vehicles. But now, recently, the odor is really unbearable since summer is near. Electrical members, secretary, you're all sitting here, but would you do something for the residents of Hong Kong? We have so many opposing voices. They do it for a reason. We have so many residents in Cheung Kwan O. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of residents.
When I purchased the flat, I was told that Lohas Park would in future be double the size of Tai Kwu Shing. So how many residents will there be living in Lohas Park ultimately? So should there be a landfill so near to so many people? As I understand that there's a need to obtain revenue for the treasury, but then it's a very big landfill and it's very near to the residential developments. And you should have closed it down, but you haven't, and you are planning to extend this landfill. So please consider the well-being of this generation and the future generations. We spent millions of dollars purchasing our flats. Where can we move to? Property prices are so high. 2 years ago when Li Ka-shing visited Le Prestige, he said that the air was fresh, but then we all knew too well that the air quality was very poor, the odor was very serious. So I hope that you can go there and experience for yourselves the nuisance we are facing, and the landfill should by no means be extended. Mr. Lui Kim Ho. Yes, good morning, Chairman. Good morning, members. Good morning, government officials. I want to talk about the actual situation in Cheung Kwan O. There are many problems. I'm a driver myself. I drive. And from Cheung Kwan O Tunnel down the slope to Wan Po Road and the landfill, you see lots of refuse, including very big items of waste and refuse. And I'm telling you the truth. I saw police officers removing some bricks and food waste and so on and so forth in order to enhance safety. Now, police officers are not street cleaners or sweepers. So why is it that they have to do such work? And I want to say that we have to tackle the symptoms as well as the disease itself. Now, the landfill will reach capacity one day, and land resources are very limited in Hong Kong. So where can we have another landfill? So I think the government must really plan ahead. The population of Cheung Kwan O is about 400,000, and the population will be increasing. So I hope that the government will be sympathetic towards our requests. Yes, Mr. Eddie Sam. Yes, good morning, Chairman and members. I live in Lohas Park. I've been living there since the middle of 2009, and I want to share my personal feelings with you, and I want to tell you about the impact of the landfill on me. In fact, since mid-2009, I have felt the odor very frequently. I have lived in Capital and Le Prestige, and there's the odor problem. 2 days ago, I could still smell the odor. Last night, I was fortunate I couldn't smell the odor. But 2 nights ago, when I was doing cleaning work at home, I could smell the very strong odor. Now, in fact, when I drive, I park my car near TVB, and I know the smell of the landfill. And I want to say that this smell has persisted for a few years, not a few days. I understand that the odorizing facilities have been installed, but I don't think the problem has been solved. So I want to say that the odor problem is really a very big nuisance to us residents. Please do not extend the landfill any further, Secretary. We are suffering on a daily basis. Yes, we understand that the landfill has been there, but we do not want the problem to deteriorate. And I understand that there will be further developments under Lohas Park, and there will be residential developments in southern Tseung Kwan O. So more and more residents will be affected. And then let me say something about the waste on Wanpo Road. In fact, since 2009, I have seen large items of waste. For example, mattresses, big piles of paper, all kinds of waste you can imagine. And in the evening on Thursday at about 8 p.m., I drove from Lohas Park to Hang Hao, and when I passed the show studio, my car bumped into some waste on the left-hand side, and now my car is left with a 7 cm long scar, and it was fortunate that the spare parts of the car were not damaged. So I want to say that this is a problem unique to Wanpo Road. I have been told that cleansing has been stepped up, but I want to say that tell you that that was my experience in the evening on Thursday. 2 days ago, only 2 days ago. If you want more details, you can contact me after the meeting. I want to say that the landfill is really a great nuisance to us. So I oppose the proposed extension. Thank you. Ms. Wong Yufong. Yes, thank you. I live at Le Prestige of Lohas Park. I have been living here for about 33 months, and every time I go out to the balcony, I can smell the odor. We are really too near to the sand landfill. The distance is only 800 meters. In fact, we can smell the odor from Lohas Park. In fact, we can smell the odor from Tseung Kwan O and even Chai Wan, Shao Kei Wan, and Tai Kwu Shing. Every day, we have 4,000 RCVs going in and out of Tseung Kwan O. So there is pollution. There is also an environmental hygiene problem, and also we have dust flying around. In fact, I do not open the door of the balcony too often, but because of the dust, I have to sweep the floor 2 times a day. And if I cross the road at Wanpo Road, and if I am say midway in the middle of the road waiting for the green light, there's a lot of dust. I have to cover my nose with my hand, and I think, or I feel that I simply can't breathe. And it's really an awful experience. And every day from about 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., we have an endless flow of RCVs into and out of Tseung Kwan O. So, Secretary, a landfill should not be near to residential developments. When I purchased the flat at Le Prestige, I was told that the sand landfill would be closed in 2012. The Edward Yao said 2013. And now we have Mr. Wong Kam Seng, who is telling us that this landfill will operate till 2015. And we are told that there will be an extension. So, what can I do? I have invested in this flat and I'm a retiree. For Lohas Park, Phase 1 and Phase 2, we have people have already moved in, and there are about 30,000 people living there. And there will be a total of 10 phases, and we have another residential development, large-scale one in the vicinity. So an occupation intake will start quite soon. So I hope that members will be concerned about our sufferings. I hope that the Secretary will close the sand landfill As I've said, I'm a retiree, and I and my family members just want to lead a simple life. We just want fresh air. Yes. Now, Chairman, there is only one anti-East member present, and she is Elizabeth Quat. I want to say, yes, according to 6.52 of the Hong Kong Planning Standards and Guidelines, Ms. Fong, there is no need for you to stand up. You can remain seated, and you are really using up my time. So please continue, or else the clock will keep ticking. Now, according to the Planning Standards and Guidelines, the government must not provide a landfill near residential developments. In fact, in the past, there were 13 landfills closed because of residential development. For example, near Laguna City or Cheung Kwan O phases 1, 2, 3, including Hang Hao, and also Clearwater Bay, the industrial estate. And then for the sand landfill, 16 years ago, the CE in Council collectively decided that Lohas Park and Shakok Road would be developed, and the population would reach 100,000 in that area. So over a decade ago, the government knew very well that there would be residents in that area. But then 4 years ago, in 2009, when occupation intake started in Lohas Park, the number of complaints has been on the rise. And in the past 2 years, the number of complaints tripled. And as a result, the Director of Environmental Protection and also officials in this portfolio have to show their responsibility. I want to say that about 200 hectares have been are used for landfilling. Landfilling is an obsolete way of waste disposal, and 200 hectares of land is adequate to house 700,000 people. The Environment Bureau has not adopted proactive policies to dispose of MSW. It has been relying on landfilling. The Bureau should have done more public engagement. The Bureau should have adopted a bottom-up approach. In fact, my organization paid a site visit to Singapore, and the Singaporean government arranged for us to visit an island. And I understand that the government is now proposing to extend the landfill by 13 hectares. And it is said that there will be a permanent refuse transfer station. We object to that strongly. At Cheung Kwan O Hospital, the ENT specialty is extremely busy. So I want to say that our health is at risk. So I hope that members, you support the closure of the sand landfill. There is no other alternative. I've already compensated you for the time lost. Mr. Chang Sing Hong. Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. I live at Capital, Lohas Park. I moved in about 3.5 years ago, about 4 years. And every time when I meet my friends, they ask me whether the odor problem is very serious at Lohas Park. And I really don't know how to answer them. I can only tell them that we do smell the odor quite frequently, irrespective of the season, of the time of the day, and you really can't avoid it. And sometimes I really want to throw up because the odor is really very strong. And sometimes when my wife smells the odor, she complains to me, she asks me to call the EPD hotline. So calling the EPD has become part of my daily routine. So every time I complain or I call the EPD to complain, sometimes EPD gives me a reply in writing. Sometimes they reply by a phone call or by phone, and sometimes they simply don't reply. And every time I'm given the standard answer. The EPD has carried out inspections, and we haven't discovered any odor, and we aren't able to trace the source of the odor. So it's really puzzling. How come they can't trace the source of the odor? And the EPD will also say that the contractor will be required to adopt measures to try to minimize the odor. Secretary, I want to say that I have heard such a reply many times. I moved in over 3 years ago, and I have received such replies numerous times. In fact, the odor has never stopped. It has never subsided. I'm really disappointed with the EPD. You have failed to resolve the odor problem after so many years. And then can I ask you this question? In Hong Kong, we have a huge population, but then land resources are limited. There is a shortage of supply of residential and commercial premises. I understand that the government plans to carry out reclamation in Tseung Kwan O to make available more land for residential development. But concerning the site in Area 137, which has been formed, why is it that you are planning to use that site for the landfill extension? I don't understand. Time's up, Mr. Zhang. Time's up.
Miss, time's up. Please stop speaking. Mrs. Yu Shuk-jan, Chairman, members, and Secretary, it's my first time speaking in public, so I'm a little bit nervous, so please bear with me. This hearing serves to oppose the Tseung Kwan O landfill. The Town Planning Board is aware of the environmental impacts of the landfill, traffic problem, etc. However, they are forcing through the proposal. And they are saying that they will actively follow up with the environmental work. And the so-called improvement plan is all in vain, and so far us as residents cannot see any improvements. There's still the problem of odor with traffic. The authorities say that they will step up law enforcement, but we haven't seen any results. And we see trash all the time, trash and rocks and debris at Whampoa Road. It's very dangerous, and we often see residents. And if the landfill is so close to the residences, how can it possibly improve the environment? The authorities are ignoring our health, and they're very irresponsible. I hope the government can find a deserted island for a landfill, or instead build incinerators. And I hope they do not extend landfills which are located so close to residences. And I hope the authorities will oppose the extension of the Tseung Kwan O landfill. And the government always promised to close the landfill, but they have went back to their words. Recently, the Secretary for Environment threatened that if we do not extend the landfill, we would be occupied by trash. I think the government is blaming us for their own shortcomings. I hope the Secretary would close the landfill. Thank you. Ms. Lai Siu-chi, Chairman, members, Secretary, I moved in Lotus Park in 2009. I used to live in Hong Kong Island. I moved in because I hope my husband's health would improve. And I think the developer cheated on us. they said LOHAS means living of health and sustainability. And after I moved in, I realized there is a landfill, and I thought it would be closed down in 2012, and now we're talking about 2014 and 15. I think this Secretary for Environment is lying, and nobody would believe you. I think landfills are necessary, but they should be located far from residences. The government said there won't be a problem of odor. I think this is not acceptable to us. We would not compromise, Mr. Secretary. Construction wastes are odorless and tasteless, and I think they might kill us in silence. Health is very precious. If the waste can be transported by vessels, why don't we move them to a deserted island and uninhabited island? I think the landfills should be located in one of those deserted islands. Tseung Kwan O residents would not welcome the idea of a landfill. Please, Secretary, please, for all, close the Tseung Kwan O landfill. If you want to clap, I would be lenient if you do so in between the speakers' speeches. Mrs. He Yut-han, I represent a resident. She could not come today. I have a question for the recycling bins. What would you do with the collected items? Some TV media say that there would be short-term consequences of the landfill, but there would be long-term benefits. If you are extending the landfills, this is unfair to Tseung Kwan O residents. In recent weeks, the odor is so intolerable that they could wake you up at night. Usually I sleep very well, but yet I was waken up by the odor. The government is always talks about monitoring, but the fact is the odor goes on, and the government is not doing its job. I think the government is only thinking about its own interests at the cost of the health of Tseung Kwan O residents. This is unfair to the Tseung Kwan O residents. Dust is a big problem in Tseung Kwan O. Even when I'm at home, I would not open any windows or my balcony. The dust is so thick that I can almost write with dust on my floor. I'm not a child anymore. We do not oppose such plans for the sake of it, but we are thinking about our own health, and that's why we are making our voices known today. I want to know to you, Mr. Secretary, our goal is common, and that is we want to ultimately close the Tseung Kwan O landfill. That's our wish. Hong Kong has so many deserted islands. Why don't you think about that? And you're saying no before even making the effort to consider the different proposals. I think nowhere in the world can you find a landfill so close to the residents. The developers told me that the landfill will be closed in 2012, and they told me that they would certainly make sure that the landfill is closed. And the day I moved in was the start of my nightmare that I have to sleep next to the trash. Chairman, members, secretary. I brought a site map with me. It was from June 2009. It's a map of Area 137. It's the deep waterfronts area. When for people who wanted to invest in properties, they would refer to such plans. I think the government plans are very deceptive, and they are playing tricks with words. They say the Chuan Kwan O landfill does not have any room for extension, but they're not true to their words. For the map submitted by the government in 2012, they promised not to do anything with the country park. However, in 2010, they utilize part of the country park to process waste without the consent of LegCo. They are not credible. They are not credible, and they were threatening that they are threatening the whole of Hong Kong. That if we do not extend the Chuan Kwan O landfill, Hong Kong would be engulfed by trash. I think the secretary is not doing its job. If you think about Guangzhou, they ultimately process their waste by incineration. If you look at any modern city, land is the most valuable resource, and you should not waste such resource. Area 137 is one such example. It's prime land. I urge the government not to cheat on us again. Thank you, the pro-constitution LegCo members to attend, like Elizabeth Quat. I hope the pro-constitution LegCo members can join us, can join the public in opposing the Chuan Kwan O landfill. I think the public appreciate that. In the past, in Sai Kung District Council, we had been misled too many times. Thank you, Ms. Lam. I live in Lohas Park. Every day, a lot of trash vehicles pass by Chuan Kwan O, entering the East New Territories landfill area. And there's a lot of problems, including noise problems, PM 2.5. They have adversely affected the health of Chuan Kwan O residents. I close my windows at home all the time. And the dust just keeps coming in my home. After moving to Chuan Kwan O, I have had problems with various respiratory diseases. I used to live in Hong Kong Island. Even when I got sick, I usually recovered within a week. But now, PM 2.5 is carcinogenic. I hope all the members and environmental officials if you are doing something bad, you should do something. So I urge you to close the landfill.
Yes, Mr. Winston Lee. Last week, I at the City Forum said Sau-lan lied. Why did I say so? Now, before he was elected, he had written a book, and in the book, he said that our resources are scarce and should not be used for landfilling purposes, and that's what page 182 of his book. Now, I want to say that leaders should set a good example for others, including his subordinates. As we have such a CE, no wonder why we have this Secretary for the Environment. And in fact, he threatened Cheung Kwan O residents. He said that Hong Kong would be besieged by waste if the landfills were not extended. Now, I want to say that in 2008, Mr. Edward Yao said that the landfill would be closed in 2012. And then in 2011, we were told that the landfill would be closed in 2014. And then in 2013, we were told that the closure date would be 2015. And the landfill would also need to be extended. So in other words, I don't really know whether we will be able to see the landfill closed in 2020. So, Mr. Wong Kam saying, how can you expect Hong Kong people to believe in what you say? In San Francisco, those affected by landfills will be compensated. Now, you are proposing to spend $1.8 billion to extend the Cheung Kwan O landfill. So why is it that you can't give us the $1.8 billion as compensation? The residents have been tolerating or enduring this landfill for over 2 decades, from Mayao Tong to the present Sand landfill. And let me say that the Wanpo Road, it means environmental protection in Chinese, but in fact, it's not environmentally friendly at all. We are told that cleansing has been stepped up. Why is it that the odor is still so serious? That means that your mitigating measures are not effective and are not enough. So the only alternative now is closure of the landfill. In fact, there are 21 members in the Environmental Affairs panel, and we have only 5 members here, and Mr. Gary Fan and Ms. Elizabeth Quat have already left or have gone out. So I really do not know how we can make LegCo members understand our problems. So I think today's public hearing is not enough. There should be site visits. There should be more meetings with the residents. Ms. Chang, I want to say that I'm a housewife. I'm not eloquent. And I thank government officials for listening to me. So I can only tell you about my experience. I had a bad cough, so I went to Cheung Kwan O Hospital A&E department. I waited for 3.5 hours and could not see a doctor. So do you know our sufferings? One morning, my son woke up and his eyes were red, and I said, you shouldn't go to the A&E department because you have to wait for 3.5 hours and you won't be able to see the doctor. And then I asked him to go to a private practitioner, a private hospital, and I spent $700 to $800 on his medical charges. So it seems that you are really indifferent to our sufferings. Is it that to you high-ranking officials, the lives of ordinary members of the public are valueless and worthless? The government is so keen to conserve and protect Chinese white dolphins. But then, what about our sufferings? You don't care even if we die. You don't care even if we suffer. So is it that only the lives of high-ranking officials are valuable? Our lives are valueless. When we go out to the balcony, we smell the odor. We have respiratory problems. Elderly persons suffer from respiratory problems. We have to switch on the air conditioner every day. We have to, when we clean the dust every day, the dust particles are black in color. I don't know how to put my case to you eloquently. I can only tell you my personal experience. During the exams, my son woke up, and his eyes were red. He couldn't go to school. He went to a private medical practitioner, and when we paid $700 to $800, I went to the A&E department. I waited for 3.5 hours and still couldn't see the doctor. And I asked why I still couldn't see the doctor. I said I was suffering, and I was told that it could not be helped. And then I was advised to maybe go to another hospital. So I dialed 999. I went to the A&E department on an ambulance, and I waited for 3.5 hours and could not see the doctor. I'm not eloquent. I don't know how to put my case to you forcefully. I can only tell you about my experience. High-ranking officials live in luxury apartments in the mid-levels. I believe you don't understand the way we suffer. Your lives are valuable. Our lives are valueless. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Teng Yin Man. Chairman, thank you. I represent the Young DAB. In fact, we in Hong Kong mainly rely on the 3 landfills to treat and dispose of waste. There is a lack of a coherent and comprehensive waste management strategy. The action blueprint has just been published, and there is a clear timetable, and also there are clear targets for reducing waste and treating waste. But I want to say that there is still a lot of controversy over ways to dispose of waste. Let me talk about the 3 landfills and the concerns of members of the public. Concerning the Chung Kwan O landfill, now the residents have already stated their concerns very clearly. Air pollution, odor, and also the impact of RCVs, or the traffic of RCVs on them. And then for the Ta Kwu Ling and Nim Wan landfills, the proposed scale of extension is substantial, and as a result there will be more RCVs moving in and out of those areas. And as a result, RCVs will be plying through roads very near to residential developments. So there is the odor problem. There will be health hazards for the residents. I think it's not enough for the administration to merely listen to the views of or the complaints of the residents. Officials should pay frequent site visits to understand the problem more. And then officials should come up with concrete policies. And these policies must contain details. If you do not tackle these problems, that would be most unacceptable. We need to segregate waste at source, and this is the long-term way to solve the problem.
等等下，大家出席團體，因為咧頭先就。
Now the deputations. Now we have a deputation speaking in English. So perhaps you can now switch to channel 1, and you'll get the Cantonese simultaneous interpretation. Please continue.
Hong Kong needs to take immediate action to resolve the waste problem as exemplified by the imminent exhaustion of the 3 existing landfills estimated to occur in short time. Based on the prevailing circumstances, we incline to support expanding the landfill sites as an interim short-term measure to allow time for waste collection and recycling system to establish and function. We also support introduction of waste-to-energy municipal solid waste treatment to reduce the loading on the landfill to provide energy in future. We support reduction of construction waste and reuse of construction material wherever possible and practicable. We also welcome the announcement of the Blueprint for Sustainable Use of Resources 2013 to 2022, and believe Hong Kong needs plans to bring everyone focused and remind of what individually needed to do for the waste material. Especially for the construction industry, we support wide adoption of BIM Plus and green procurement to commence immediately. Recycling movement in Hong Kong construction industry is slow. We call upon the government to pay close attention, technically and economically, as to what the problem actually of them and what should be done about them, and to facilitate a viable recycle industry in Hong Kong. Lastly, we will endeavour to take our suggestions during the consultation and work with government to formulate practical solutions for better management of construction process. Thank you.
好，多謝各位。
Thank you very much. So, all the deputations have spoken, and I need to explain to deputations that we have 3 meetings going on at the same time in this building. We have this public hearing, and there is another public hearing next door on reclamation and caverns. And there are many deputations attending, and the public hearing will be from 9 to 7, and they have also over 100 deputations, and again the deputations want more members to be present at that hearing. And then meanwhile, at the same time, we have our Public Accounts Committee holding a hearing in another conference room, and the hearing is on the former ICAC Commissioner, Mr. Timothy Tong. So I hope that members will understand that members need to shuffle among the 3 meetings. And I am sure members who are not able to attend the hearing today will watch the recordings after the meeting. In fact, we do have recordings, we do have live broadcast of all these hearings, and so if a member can't be physically present at a particular meeting or hearing, he or she can always go back to the video recording later. So I hope that you can understand the situation. So do the officials want to give a reply? Secretary. Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you for finding time to attend this hearing to express your concerns about this very important issue. I understand that over 100 deputations will be here to give their views to members and to the administration. And I'm sure government officials as well as electoral members will pay very close attention to what deputations have to say. I understand that you're concerned about air quality, the odor problem, the traffic caused by RCVs, and we do understand these problems. And I think having heard what you have said will deepen our understanding of the problems. And so this is the majority view in this session. And we've of course also heard views expressed on the macro level. I think you all understand that we need to balance the interests of all sectors in the community. The second speaker, Mr. Look, has made a valid point. He has talked about the background. He has also talked about the problems we face at the moment, and he also looks into the future. Yes, we should let the bygones be bygones. We should try to tackle existing problems, and we should also try to seek improvements in the future. So I think we should all try to look ahead. So we're mainly here today to listen to the views of the deputations. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. I think it's now time for members to ask questions. How many members would like to ask questions? 1, 2, 3. All right, each member will have 4 minutes, and that will take us to 11:30. Now, the other 2 members, do you have any questions? Because I have to calculate the time required. Now, I want to say that I am here to speak on behalf of the Civic Party. Mr. Ronnie Tong, a member representing NT East, is not a member of the Yay panel. And I want to say that I was present throughout the session. I didn't leave the conference room. And I want to say that the Civic Party's position is very clear. We are on your side, and when we voted, it was clear that we were on your side. And I want to ask the administration this question now, and this is very important indeed, and that is when the residents decided whether to move into Tseung Kwan O or not, they had this expectation. And that was, they knew very well that there was a landfill nearby, but then they were told that the landfill would be closed in 2010 or 2012 or 2013. I want to know whether their expectation was correct and legitimate. Where did the problem lie? With the developer? With government officials? With government papers? Or was there collusion between the government and the business sector? Now, today we have many meetings going on at the same time, and I thank you, Chairman, for explaining the situation or the difficulty to the deputations. And I think now I want to ask this question. C.Y. Leung, who likes to lie, is not present. Has he met you to listen to your views personally? So I want to say that the deputations are accusing the administration and also C.Y. Leung for lack of credibility.
I want to make a few points. Earlier, we visited South Korea with LegCo members, and we listened to what the Korean authorities had to say. Every landfill has restrictions in its design. In regards to the extent of the waste processing capacity. In Korea, they will maintain a filling capacity of 40 years. And the situation is similar in Taiwan and Singapore. And the capacity of 40 years is not a promise, but instead an estimation. It's an expected capacity. I think this is a common view of on filling capacity by different countries. Let me give you some information. Some people might have the conception that the government had promised to close the landfill at a particular year, whether it's 10, 12, or 14, etc. In 2012, a case conference was held, and in March 2012, a site visit was conducted, and a report was submitted. And during the conference, we submitted some papers. And in 2005, the government launched an action plan for the treatment of MSW. And it mentioned that we will be extending 3 landfill sites. In Southeast New Territories landfill site, we launched the extension plan. And we had announced the survey results and feasibility plans. For the detailed documents, I will let my colleagues follow up with you. The answer is very important. Whether the government had made a promise or a scientific estimation the closure of landfill. So, members, I hope we don't give the government of authorities a chance to slip away by not giving a concrete answer. So I want to make this clear to Mr. Stephen Ho and Charles Mock. I want to let you know that this question is very important. So we might have to cancel your questions. Mr. Lam, you can supplement later. Ms. Chan, thank you, Chairman. In paper CBC 322 2012, we mentioned very clearly that we did not say that we will not extend the landfills. Since 2004, we have liaised with the public. Hereby, I'll read the documents. The EPD has mentioned that by 2012, the 3 landfill sites will be saturated eventually. And by 2014, we have informed districts, members of the district, that we have a need to extend the landfills. This is very clearly stated in the documents. Actually, what the residents were saying is that at that time when they moved in 2009, 2010, somebody told them that the landfill will be closed. Their concern is that what's during the planning stage in 2007 or 2008, what kind of information did the government offer at that time? It's a planning issue. In 2012, in November and December, we had a long discussion at the town planning board. And the TBB had explained that in area 86, where Lohas Park is located, and during the 90s, why were they able to apply to TBD to build a residential block? They had conducted EIA assessments on the viability to develop to build residential blocks. Please stay silent. Please, can the delegations remain silent? Chairman, this is a complicated issue, but we are happy to provide more information. Our present mechanism does not permit me to make detailed explanations. Area 86 and 85 are potentially areas which could be affected. And when we perform the EIA for the SENT landfill extension, Lohas Park is one of the areas covered, and it's also covered in our EIA assessments. And in the area 86 also underwent an environmental assessment. Please, can the delegations please remain silent? I hope I don't have to send you away for the last 2 minutes. What you're doing is giving the government a chance to slip away from this issue. First, the credibility issue. Did you ever lie? And if not, who lied to the residents? Is it the property developers? I think the governments were the one paying, so they have to know. did the government ever promise that the landfill will be closed or suspended at a specific time or year? And now you have to side with the resident and see and investigate. Who would answer the question? Mr. Lam? Chairman, in our papers submitted last time, there are a few important papers. The first is the EIA paper submitted in 2004. The government was aware that the landfills will be full at a particular time. And there are a lot of factors which affects when the landfills will be used up. This is indeterminate, but it's very clear that there is a need to extend the landfills. And in the MSW action plan, the plan also mentioned the need to extend the 3 landfills. And we had performed EIA assessments respectively for all 3 sites. The first session will end here. I hope the governments can compile documents by TPB and submit them to the EA panel so that all our colleagues can go through the details. If any members have follow-up questions, you have to wait until the next session. I hope the delegations can also provide their documents for our reference. Thank you, Chairman. This session will end here. Will adjourn here. Please come back at 11.